Dance with me, Northwoods. Let's get right into it. Trailblazing CCC camps in northern Wisconsin. Welcome back to Up North at 4. We are doing a 2-day journey into Black history in Wisconsin, starting right up here in the Northwoods. And joining us today from the Manitowish Waters Historical Society is Jim Bokern. Jim, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Dan. Thank you.
So I sent out some feelers to all the historical societies about what we could do for Black History Month. And you had an awesome idea to talk about really not quite unique. Minnesota and Wisconsin had a interesting role when it came to CCC camps. So let's first start with what CCC camps are for the people who don't know.
Great. The Civilian Conservation Corps was part of the early phase of FDR's New Deal called the First 100 Days. And he was trying to bring relief, recovery, and reform to the United States in the Great Depression. The CCC camp dealt with a lot of environmental restabilization and helped localities throughout the country meet their specific goals. The CCC operated throughout the state of Wisconsin. Here in the Northwoods, we had 3 different kinds of camps, as you can see on the map. We have Federal Forest Service camps. Those are over in Eagle River. We have state forest camps, which are more here in the Northern Highland American Legion Forest. And then there are state park camps who built state parks like Copper Falls.
And just a quick shout out for the CCC Museum at the Pioneer Park Complex in Rhineland. It's not open right now, but definitely check them out when they reopen. And then Jim, let's talk about why we're here, the Black History Month aspect of it. Very few of these camps were integrated, but tell me about Wisconsin camps.
Wisconsin and Minnesota camps were unique and were integrated camps where both Black and white enrollees would work together and live together. There were some desegregated camps in California and one in Texas for a while, but those typically faded. And sadly, strong segregation and Jim Crow tendencies remain throughout the United States. It was particularly unique because the Army was segregated and the Army ran the physical camps, not the operations in the field, but the physical camps. And so 15 years before Harry Truman's executive order in 1948, we're seeing integrated camps here in Wisconsin.
So one of the notable camps is in Elko, Wisconsin. We have a picture of that one. Tell me a little bit about what the Elko camp was doing.
Well, the Elko camp, if you look at the map, was a state forest camp. So it's the state forest rangers would be perpetuating the goals of the Conservation Commission of Wisconsin. And there would be ranger cabins and quarters sometimes at the CCC camps. And our forest rangers in Wisconsin work closely overseeing the work. Oftentimes there would be project supervisors or superintendents that would be elevated out of the enrollees that would work side by side with the state forest rangers. The Army really didn't have a lot to do with that part of the camp. When the men came back, spent their time on camp, the Army oversaw education, sporting events, and just the day-to-day operations of keeping the men fed, housed, and doing the good work they did in the Northwoods.
There was also a Mercer camp. You've told me that there was integrated. And we have
Camp Mercer.
We have a newspaper clipping. We're not going to show it here because it has some outdated language, but tell me about what the coverage was of this integrated camp in Mercer.
Oh, it was another enrollee who was very popular. We have 41 copies of the Mercer Monitor, which is the Camp Mercer newspaper. And both in articles that were written and in some of the images that were created for the newspaper, there was clearly African American enrollees who were there and were all part of the experience. You have to imagine the average age of a first enrollee at Camp Mercer was 19 and a half. The veterans were 20 and a half. These are young men. And the camp newspapers, they did some official business, but the enrollees ran them. And, they were making fun of their friends, their romantic interest, or some mistake they made in the field and so on. So those newspapers had a bit of banter back and forth within them.
And is there any specific acknowledgement of it being integrated in that newspaper?
No, it was not. There was no formal acknowledgement, but it is very clear. And these are just two Northwoods camps. There were camps integrated all throughout the Sparta district. The CCC camps in this area were run out of the headquarters in Sparta. Camp Mercer was a sub-district headquarters and had oversight between 10 and 12 camps from 1935 to 1942. But many of those camps would also have had Black enrollees.
Minnesota and Wisconsin, like you said, unique in the United States of having integrated CCC camps. Why was that?
Well, basically because of the small number of African American enrollees in the area. Wisconsin and Minnesota had a large influx of African American population, as did many northern tier states after and a little bit before World War I. This is sometimes referred to the Great Migration. Here we are in 1933, and poverty was reaching all races, all classes, and this was just part of, like I said, FDR's relief, recovery, and reform of the New Deal. So the explanation I have read most often was it was just a practical adjustment to bring the services of the CCC to communities like Camp Mercer, where there isn't a large African American community itself. But it was kind of groundbreaking, as I said, because when the Army ultimately desegregates, and the Army ran the CCC camps, this will create a huge fissure politically in the Democratic Party, and the southern states will split off of the Democratic Party and create the Dixiecrats. So this is kind of a forerunner to the integration of the Army, and looking forward, the Northwoods was really groundbreaking in that regard.
Jim Bokern with the Manitowish Waters Historical Society. Thanks so much, Jim, for joining us on the program.
Thank you.